Here's Brody Brazil.
Hopefully by now you already know the phone number. It's 1-833-4-BRODY. Give me a call. Leave me a voicemail. I listen to all of them, and then I get to play the very best ones here on the channel.
Brody, this is Jeff. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, but I am originally a Cleveland fan. Grew up in the Cleveland area. I was watching your video about the San Jose A's, and you were talking about the intricacies of the Giants, the A's, and the, San Francisco Bay market having multiple teams. And it's interesting because for me as a Cleveland fan, if you slap Cleveland on it, I root for it. Doesn't matter, if it's NBA, NFL, MLB, women's basketball, soccer, men's basketball, soccer, whatever. If it's Cleveland, I root for it.
All right.
So how is someone growing up in a market that has multiple teams, how do you handle, a situation, for example, how do you choose to root for the A's but not the Giants?
Got it.
If the A's are bad, do you root for the Giants? How do you handle managing multiple teams? Appreciate your YouTube channel. Enjoy your work, and hope you answer my question. Have a good day.
Jeff, I'm about to do that. Thank you for your call from Nashville, Tennessee, and thank you for explaining your allegiance to all things Cleveland. And it's amazing. These voicemails I've been getting, some of them, it's such a simple point or question or comment, Jeff, like you just made, but I can elaborate on this for several minutes because this is a really good sports conversation and maybe an explanation on my part. I grew up here in the San Francisco Bay Area of Northern California, and for a while we had the Raiders and 49ers, so two NFL teams, and for the longest time we had two Major League Baseball teams with the Giants and A's. So we saw the dual market in use in multiple sports. Look, this happens in other places too, like in Chicago, you got the Cubs and White Sox. In baseball, you've got the Mets and Yankees. In football, you've got the Chargers and Rams, Clippers and Lakers. In the NBA, really the NHL is the only league that doesn't have dual team markets. And I know people are going to say, what about New York? Well, Islanders, Rangers, and Devils, they're all close, and the Sabres aren't that far away in terms of the state of New York, but maybe the Kings and Ducks are close in proximity. But generally speaking, you don't have two Chicago teams. A lot of people have argued that in the NHL, you could support two Toronto teams, but that's not the way it is right now. Let me say this. When you're in the dual team market situation, it is actually so much nicer when everybody can root for a single team. And let me use the example of the Golden State Warriors or the example of the San Jose Sharks here in the Bay Area, despite baseball and football, which were segmented for quite some time of which team do you root for? And I'll explain that in a second too. It's nice when everybody, whether you're a Giants fan or an A's fan here in the Bay Area, you can rally around the San Jose Sharks. You can go to your buddy or your family member or your relative, friend or relative, family, whatever, same thing. When you can go to somebody that you like, that you disagree with on a team, and then agree with them on a different team. So it is, I have to say, and that's a cool thing about Cleveland, right? You don't have two NFL teams. You don't have two NBA teams. You got one of everything, and that's great. And you can all rally around that and huddle around that and just hate everything Columbus, right? Isn't that what you would do in Cleveland? Okay, but back to the point here. So you've got certain cities that have certain dual team scenarios and situations, whether it's baseball or basketball or football. Here's how I see fans drawing the line of where they're split. Three different ways. Number one is tradition. If my mom or dad like the 49ers or like the Raiders, then I'm probably going to like the 49ers or like the Raiders based on what my parents did and how they raised me. Now, it is interesting. A lot of people look at me and say, well, you must have been a fan of the Oakland Raiders, right? You got the A's connections. You grew up in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. That's where the Raiders were. But check this out. Timing is also part of this too. Tradition is part of it, but so is timing. When I grew up, it was the 80s, and I think 82 is when the Raiders moved from Oakland down to Los Angeles. So 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. The Raiders didn't come back until the mid-90s. I want to say 95. So for all those impressionable years of my life, the Raiders were in Los Angeles. What did I know about the Oakland Raiders? I was one when they moved away. All I knew was the San Francisco 49ers playing over at Candlestick Park. So I became more attached to, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and all the Super Bowls and things that they won. So tradition is part of it. Oh yeah, I'm also named after a 49er quarterback, John Brodie, true story. But tradition is part of it. When there's two teams to choose from, tradition can be a part of it. Geography can also easily be a part of it. Again, I'll use the example here of the San Francisco Bay Area. If you look at the map, there's a body of water in between San Francisco and Oakland. There's the peninsula of San Francisco, and there's the East Bay of Oakland. Actually, as I'm looking at the screen, Oakland would be on this side and San Francisco would be on this side. But I digress. The point is, there is geography that makes a difference. You've got to cross a bridge to get from San Francisco to Oakland. So everybody that lives over here roots for their team, and everybody that lives over here roots for their team. Sometimes it is as simple as that. I look at Chicago in a similar way. There's the north side of downtown, and there's the south side of downtown. The north side is the Cubs. The south side is the White Sox. It could be as simple as that. Popularity is another way to break this down. Now, a lot of people are going to accuse this subset of fans as being bandwagon, and I've got to admit, let me speak to that here in the Bay Area. For a lot of years of the early 2010s, the Giants won the World Series in 10, 12, and 14. And even though the A's were pretty good for a couple of those years, went to the playoffs for 12, 13, 14, the Giants were the it factor around these parts. There's no question about it. And so even though the A's were good, and even though there was tradition and they had been around for 45 plus years at that point, popularity won out, and especially among the casual fans. These aren't fans who go to every game. These are fans that say, wait, that team's winning? I can go to a World Series game? I can be a fan of this, popular team with popular players and kind of theme nights and characters of the team. So popularity is a huge deal. And there are people who were raised a different way or raised without tradition, but that are on the opposite geography of where they should be. People in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area that would rather cross the bridge and go see the Giants because they're just the more popular team. So that happens too. I can break it down into those three ways as the main three ways. There might be some other ways. You let me know right now in the comment section below. Are there other ways to decide which team you want to be a fan of if there's two teams in the same market? Tradition, geography, and popularity are the big three for me. But again, dedicated versus bandwagon fans, that's the one with popularity. I wanted to make that note as the final thing here because dedicated fans are going to stick to their tradition. They're going to stick to their geography. If it's a popularity contest, we've got a little bit of a bandwagon aspect going on here too. And look, that's fine. That's natural. Teams should want their bandwagon to be full, right? You make more money that way. You do better as a business that way. But I do get the criticism of that as well. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Hopefully I answered the question. Thumbs up down below too. That helps me, the video, the channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit that button. I would love to see you back here next time.